figure fans, it's the one and only Optibottoms coming at you with another video review. If you're an old subscriber, thanks for coming back. If you're a new one, welcome. Before you leave, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and bell notification so that you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series Deluxe Class Autobot Drift. What makes him different than the other Drift that we got in the Studio Series line is now he is his helicopter form. For the package though, you got that nice Transformers text with the Generation logo, you got an open window that fully showcases the figure. You can see that this is inspired from his look in Transformers Age of Extinction. Got a really cool artistic image of him, you got an up-close image of his head. The other side has that same kind of image that we have here on the front. Come around to the back of the package, you can see, as I said, he is his helicopter form, and he transforms in 26 steps. Then you get a one-sentence bio, I guess. It says, at the sight of Optimus Prime, Autobot Drift dives gracefully off a cliff, converting midair into his helicopter mode to meet him. And then, as with all these Studio Series figures, it is big screen inspired, so it's got a more accurate paint scheme, and then it does come with a backdrop, which is, they say it's the Autobot reunion scene. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So, without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Drift open up out of his packaging and obviously in his helicopter mode, and this is a really cool looking figure. It does have some problems, mostly in the fact that, believe it or not, this is a heavy remold of, it's not going to look like it, but this guy. Yeah, it's incredible. The difference here, really. I mean, this is a seriously big difference in terms of the overall look. But some of the problems that this guy had do still kind of plague Drift. Mostly in regards to the transformation and some stuff kind of bumping into each other and not very fluidly moving from place to place. It's not terrible and you can actually still transform them. I just wish it had a little bit more of a fluid nature. But the overall look for this is really very nice. You can see primarily he's done this black, got some nice gray elements in there that make up his thigh, but kind of break things up. You do have this giant gap thing right there. That's a little ugly, but I can forgive that. He is a bit of a parts former in the fact that this back section here, as well as his missile pods and then even the blades up here, do detach for transformation. And you kind of have to do it. But I don't mind it because it does give him a cleaner looking robot mode. But I do really like the way he looks, and he definitely has that look that he had in the film. I also really like the dark blue bits up here making up the windows. That's really cool. But this was the first real alt mode that we saw him have. So, you know, there's a kind of cool aspect that we're finally getting him as a helicopter, and one that looks how he looked. Optimus Prime was driving along these streets and he was kind of like hanging up here in a mountain, and he saw him and then he jumped down and did a flip and then transformed into this guy. It wasn't until later on that we saw him transform into the Bugatti Veyron, or however you said it, the Bugatti. Now, looking at the backdrop, as I said, this is how he appeared in Age of Extinction. As we know, in The Last Night, he changed to a Mercedes, and instead of having the blue and black color, he had the red and black color. But you got that nice sort of deserty scene here, Transformers, Studio Series 45, all that kind of... get that out of here, we don't need that anymore. Do wish they were a little bit bigger so I could display them in my details, but oh well. But again, just doing that real quick comparison, it really is impressive how different they got this to look. When you do transform them, though, you will, if you've transformed this guy, get a very similar feel. And as I said, it's not a bad thing. It just, some of the problems that had, this also has. You can rotate his propeller. It actually, I mean, when you can get a cool sound with it, too. I don't think that's necessarily intentional, but that's neat. And then I love going that, and it looks like it's going backwards now. That's cool. That's just a fun sort of thing, that this is rotating faster than the camera is catching things, so it makes it look like it's going backwards. That's awesome. I love that. No propeller here in the back. It's just sculpted in there, but yeah, really happy with how this looks. in terms of an appearance, this really does absolutely capture his look. Now, again, he was a triple changer in the movie, and we've never gotten a helicopter / car one that was all put into one figure. So I'm kind of, bummed out that we never got that. But we've gotten really good vehicle modes, both car and helicopter now. Granted, they're from different movies, but if they can't figure out a way to put it all into one toy, at least they're giving us 2 toys of it, so that's okay. Now, to transform him, he's actually fairly simple to do, but as I mentioned, he does have some part forming. So first, come around into the back, take this piece off, set that off to the side. I'm going to take these off as well, and put one over here so I can keep which side they go on kind of in order. So take those off, and then the blades just detach just like that. That one's really tight. Pull that out just like so. You can take this section, you can fold that like that. You don't have to do it now, but why not, right? Come around here to this whole cockpit section, lift this up, tabs in there very securely, and then lift this up over these little side panels here. It's a little bit tricky. Kind of pull and lift, and then you can hinge that kind of back like that. You're gonna line everything up later on, so don't worry about it too much right now, but as you can see, that will release this, and you can straighten these legs out just like so. Come around here to this back section, you can rotate this around, kind of getting it out of the way of the head. Split these, which are going to become the arms, pull those off to the side for right now. Take these legs, straighten these out, and then rotate them again. Kind of keep this up and out of the way. Rotate the legs here at what are going to basically become his knees on both sides. Now this part does get a little bit tricky, primarily because this is loose on mine. So well, first take these little side bits, tuck those down, do that on both sides there. So you just got to be careful when you're rotating this around that you don't make this pop off, which you mostly have that problem when you're pushing this in and trying to line this piece up. I mean, I totally feel like it's pushing on there, not going all the way, but let's see, get that straight. It wants to be on an angle, so kind of like that, and there we go, and then push that down, and then if you have that done right, that will just fold along the back like that. But I again, yeah, see, that already popped out. So just be careful when you're doing it. It's not fun. Honestly, I don't like it. Make sure you get that pegged in there nice and sturdy like around the actual legs. Rotate this piece around and then swivel that in. Take these, tuck these in like that. Come down here, you can straighten all this out. This piece here is going to swivel down and then hinge up, and then we'll come in to form his chest. So again, rotate this down, get that arm out of the way, and then rotate there, bring that all in, collapsing in to the chest. This piece right here, you can then hinge this all the way up. This kind of keeps this into place. Push that right there. These arms are going to rotate the elbow, straightening them out, rotate that around. As you can see, very similar to the transformation for a drop kick. So if you're familiar with that, that's basically what you have to deal with that guy. And then you can take these, and we're going to plug these into the legs right there. Grab that one. Do that there. Now this piece right here, you got little slots on his forearms here, in here. You can take this and you can plug those in there. I'm not that big of a fan of that. It's there. Personally, I think it works a little bit better back here. You got those same kind of slot things right there, so you can just take that, plug that in thusly, and when you're done, there you have Drift in his robot mode. And again, a really great looking figure. There are some elements about it that being left over from that dropkick helicopter mode really do keep this from being a terrific figure. Primarily, I'm talking about his legs. Like the way that his legs just look, I mean, like the feet are super tiny. These bits here, it just kind of looks like a mess right there in between his legs. I mean, you kind of have to keep him out on an angle like that. And I mean, the way that the feet are sculpted, it works. It just looks like there's a lot of stuff in between his legs. I also don't like these sections. I mean, they just kind of hang off there, but it looks very flat from the back. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. Plus, the way that these tab in, very flimsy, and I feel like that's done in a way so that they pop off so you don't break anything, but it ends up making it very loose and they pop off just in general. Now, you don't have to have this on his back. If you don't want to create a bigger backpack, you can take that off. It gives him a little bit better of a streamlined look, but I don't like that being on his arm. I think that just kind of looks ugly in general, so I think it looks much better there. The overall look, though, is really nice. Again, this is how he looked in the Age of Extinction film. So doing a comparison, this is the only other one that I currently have, and this is his last night appearance. As I said, this is when he is a Mercedes, has the red and black look to it, but you can see that there is a big size difference between the two. Taking a look at the swords, they are roughly the same length. The handle is considerably shorter, though. But I think that both of these actually look pretty good. Let's see, can he hold this one? Yeah, he holds that one perfectly fine. So if you wanted to swap these out, honestly, I probably will. Ultimately, I think I'm going to keep this guy in my display. I just like the more, updated look for him. That's what I want to have in my collection. It's not that this is bad or anything, but he changed his look, and he wasn't really a helicopter a lot in The Last Night. So I do like this one a little bit more. If I had a separate just Age of Extinction and Last Night display, I probably would display both of these, but space is limited, and I just kind of cram everything into kind of like one display. So this guy is gonna win it out. I do like what they did with his shoulder armor here, as opposed to being those panels that flopped up. Those were molded into it here, which looks really nice. The head sculpt looks amazing. Coming in to take a closer look at that. Again, has that previous version sort of look with mostly the gold color, but the sculpt for the head is amazing. I love the way that looks. I like how they got the blades from the helicopter coming up here, which allow you to get that sword storage thing kind of going on there. Again, because of the mold, he does have a lot of excess junk on his arm. Again, that's left over from the design that he is based off of. It's not terrible, but still kind of ugly. Love his chest. I think that the detail there looks good. Obviously, you can't have this be a Bugatti anymore, but you definitely can see where his chest piece kind of comes from. And then taking a look at the legs, again, this is where I think it gets a little bit more ugly. There's just a lot of stuff down here in his legs. Now, again, you can minimize it by taking these pieces off, but I don't really see anywhere else you could put it. Unfortunately, wish there was. Yeah, I mean, there are little pegs here, so you can't really, like, if you could plug it in somewhere here on the back, that would have been cool. But there really isn't any of that. I mean, that does make it look a little bit better. You still have these little pieces that hang off. I guess you can kind of put them in the back. Just so you don't see them from the front, but I mean, I don't know. Still a good-looking figure, just, again, suffers from some of those elements. So bringing in that figure, now this is what I was saying. This is truly mind-blowing, the difference between the two. I mean, while the engineering is very, very similar, these really do look like two almost completely different toys. I mean, obviously the arms are probably where you're going to see the most similarities, but the legs, the lower portion of the legs, the mold is different, obviously, on a lot of it. Except for like the intersection, you can see that those little squares there are replicated there as well. So the intersection is the same. The outer section is different. Again, there's not really much that is the same. It just shares the same design elements, but it really does, other than the arm, look like a completely different figure. That blows me away. I'm super, super impressed with that. Now, for his articulation, it is pretty good. The head here is on a ball joint, but you're not getting a lot of range of motion. It looks up and down a little, looks left and right, very tight. So you do get a fairly decent range of motion with that. The shoulders here, as part of the transformation, have this hinge that you can hinge up, but then you got a real nice ball joint as well, so you can really rotate that however you want. You can bend here at a hinge at the elbow, and then he rotates at the elbow as well. Come down to the waist, nothing there. That's all locked into place, so you're not going to get any crazy spins or anything. You got ball joints here for the hips, forward, back, in and out. It is a fairly big ball joint, so you can see that the thigh does get some rotation at the hip, but then you also do get the rotation just above the knee. Then you got a hinge at the lower section of the knee, nothing at the ankles. That's all locked into place. So all the articulation is fairly standard. You can get some decent poses, not crazy ninja poses like you would expect for him, but decent enough. I mean, he does look good, and he does have, I mean, I want to bring this guy in again because you can see just how more streamlined he is. I mean, he's a much bulkier figure. So I do like how they were able to streamline him and give him a more humanoid look. He still has vehicle parts that hang off on him, much like this one. But I think that in terms of recreating that humanoid sort of look, they do a little bit better of a job here. Obviously, the legs do have the bits right there. And then, like I was saying, you got those side panels that come up that make that little armor. It is what it is. But as I said, ultimately, I do have to pick kind of one to keep in my display. And I am leaning towards this guy. Transform him back. If you haven't already taken off the little leg sections, go ahead and set those off to the side. Come around to the back, detach this, and again, put that off to the side just like so. These arms, you can straighten these out on both sides, and then come here and you kind of give that a little pull away from the body, and then angle that down. Do that on the opposite side as well, kind of pull that out. Get that out of the way. Then you're going to rotate all this around here. Kind of, let's see, get that there. And then bring this up like so. You want to rotate this around at the elbow so that the shoulder section is going to be facing kind of forward like that. And then you got this little hook piece right here that slots in right on the side there. It's just going to mostly just rest there, but that's where it's supposed to go. So again, come over here, rotate this piece down, and bring that around at the elbow, hooking that little piece in. And that's basically how you want to have them look. These are going to come up just to kind of get out of the way. Then you can take this whole section. Again, this part is definitely tricky to do. Just kind of pull this back to get that to rotate around, and then bring these legs down and rotate that all the way around like that. These sections here you can bring together and tab these along the underside, bringing everything into place just like so. Come up to this cockpit section, detach that, kind of hinge that forward like that, and then rotate this around. Bring the back of the leg basically towards the front at the thigh, just like so. Open this piece, and this part, this gets a little bit tricky without knocking things out because this is very loose. So if yours is loose, just be careful while you're doing it. Rotate that around like so, and spread these open, and then take this and extend that out on both sides. Come around here to this little piece there, straighten that, revealing his little forward facing gun. And then this piece here, you hinge up and you have this little tab piece right here that's going to lock into that little groove area right inside there. So just bring that up and just, it doesn't really lock, it just kind of sits in that area like so, and then bring that all the way up like that. Do that on this side as well. Bring this back, you kind of pull the thigh out and then just rest that in that area. Lift this all the way up, and then you can bring these two half sections together, squeezing everything there, bringing this down like that, and then bring this down, and you have this little blue section underneath here that's going to lock in everything down here in the bottom. So just bring that down, give that a squeeze, push that all the way down like that. Make sure these are kind of fully positioned and pressed in. You'll kind of get a feel for it because it won't be too wobbly when you're putting it down on the ground. Come around here with these and you put these bits in. So just find the right side, tap that in underneath, kind of straighten that out. Those are gonna fire backwards, which we don't want. So have the missiles facing forward, guys. Put that there and keep that fairly straight. Do that on this side like that. Kind of play with that just to make sure those missiles are as straight as can be. You can rotate that around, and then this comes in and you just plug these in like so. I don't think it really matters, but it is a little bit tough on some aspects. So again, that lock that in, come around here to the back section, and then you take this and plug that in just like that. And when you're done, there you have Drift back in his helicopter mode.